Thank you very much, Chris Hassel, as we get things ready to go for week one. Let's go back to week 0. And we want to take a look at Jon Berger's picks from week 0 because Jon did quite well for himself. Hit on Northwestern with the over as well. Hit on Illinois. Hit on New Mexico State, Nevada under the 48. And then hit on Hawaii Vandy to go over 54.5. Couple of misses, but more hits than misses. And that's what we love to see here on HQ. Speaking of our Jon Berger, let's welcome him in to get some picks for week 1. Not a bad week 0, Jon. 4 out of 6, 67%. When I saw that on my report cards, I was always very happy. How do you feel about it?
Yeah, exactly. It keeps you off academic probation. That's always a good thing. It was a good week. We got green, had a couple hickeys on North Carolina. Wasn't really expecting that to unroll the way it did. But, as week 0s go and we got green in the account. Now we roll into week 1, and we got a little momentum, a little money to play with. So let's roll and let's go do this thing.
Yeah, academic probation, something I'm very familiar with. Jon, let's start with the biggest game in terms of the rankings this week. Number 5, Notre Dame at number 2, Ohio State. The Buckeyes have not lost to the Fighting Irish in 80 years and have beaten them at the Fiesta Bowl twice this century. The host 17-point favorites, the total sitting at 59. How you feeling here?
2 games, Jeremy, that you need to be really careful with. And it's not surprising. This is one of them, Ohio State, Notre Dame. The other one's Oregon, Georgia. If you have to get into these games, we'll talk about how to do it. The Vegas is all over these games. They're tweaking the algorithms, tweaking the analytics on a daily or hourly basis. This is not an easy game, nor is Oregon and Georgia to win money on. But let's kind of get into this. If you have to go down this route, I would do the following. I would create a little bit of a swim lane and then bracket your bet. I would lay down 3 chunks of money. I'd go OSU on the money line. I would take Notre Dame in the points. That's a ton of points. And I would take the over. And when you unpack this game and you look at it, everybody knows what's going on with Marcus Freeman. He's brought a tremendous amount of change to the Notre Dame program, but also a lot of enthusiasm. I like this young coach. This team is going to show up and they're going to fight. Keep in mind, Freeman played at Ohio State, went to high school in the state of Ohio. So this is a very enthusiastic Notre Dame team that's going to show up. On the other side of the ball, you got Ohio State's offense. This is the top offense last year in all of college football. I don't think a lot of that's going to change. They're going to be right there at number 1, 2, maybe 3 the entire season. This is a team that can put up a lot of points. They can do so quickly. They've got explosive edge players. That's not really the question for Ohio State. The biggest question is defensively. At times they looked awful last season. In the biggest games, they were shoved around up front. Bring in Jim Knowles, defensive coordinator from Oklahoma State. What I can tell you over the last 4 years at Oklahoma State, before his hire, he got there, they were giving up 32 points a game, and he left and they were giving up 18. In addition to that, in the 2021 season, this was an attacking defense, which everybody at Ohio State wants. And in virtually every statistical defensive category that matters, they were top 10. This guy knows what he's doing, cerebral, can motivate, Cornell guy, undergrad, outstanding defensive coordinator. We'll see how the Buckeyes line up and play that new defense. If they play and the scheme is the same as we saw last year at Oklahoma State, this could be a pretty special team. But like I said, this is a hard game to win money on. But if you got to do it, open up the swim lane, put some chunks of money across those 3 things, and I think you'll come out positive.
Ohio State money line there, minus 800. Notre Dame's points on the points against the spread, and the over. Take the over in that game. Okay, you mentioned the game with Oregon, Dan Lanning's Oregon and his former team, the number 3 ranked national champions Georgia. Just the second time in history the 2 schools are clashing on the gridiron. Bulldogs 17-point favorites. That line has moved, Jon. You can now get it at 16 if you want. The total sitting at 54. So you talk about this is one of those games that you have to watch out for. So what are you doing in this instance?
Yeah, I think this one is another one you got to watch out for. I would take Oregon the points, and I would take over. That's a lot of points, guys. I was one of the ones last year that was truly humbled early in the season when Oregon went out to play Ohio State. I thought, Jeremy, and I think me and you were actually doing that show, I thought there was 0, and I mean like 0 shot that Oregon gets on that plane, flies 2 or 3 time zones to the right, plays that game at 9 a.m. Pacific time, and they're going to beat Ohio State at home. And guess what? Not only that, but I thought they were going to get pushed around on the offensive and defensive line. None of that happened. Oregon shows up. They walk out of the shoe with the win, and so that taught me some things. It was certainly humbling. This is an offense right now led by Bo Nix, ex-Auburn quarterback. This guy goes hot and cold, but he can create explosive plays. But more important, they got what I consider probably one of the top 10 offensive lines in the entire country. Does Georgia win the game? Of course they do. Is everybody's talking about the neutral site? No, it's not. The game's in Atlanta. Georgia wins the game. I just think the spread's too big. I think you take Oregon in the points, but I also think in this situation you take the over and you'll make a little bit of money.
All right, John, we're going to flip over Florida, Utah, and go to Cincinnati and Arkansas. 23 Cincinnati, going to 19 Arkansas. First time in school history. Bearcats looking for just their 7th win in 43 tries versus an SEC team. Razorbacks favored by 6.5 with the total at 53.
Yeah, on this one, Jeremy, first of all, this is going to be one of the games that I tune into. This is going to be awesome to watch because everybody wants to see Cincinnati. They lost all those players to the NFL, that magical season last year. Nobody has any idea what they're going to be on the offensive side of the ball. You look at Arkansas, this is a team that's got a blue-collar mentality. Again, on the defensive side of the ball, we don't know how they're going to match up. I think you need to be very careful with this game. It's going to be awesome. But I think there's like radioactive shrapnel all over this game in terms of just making a pure bet in terms of value. I think if you got to do it, first of all, I wouldn't do it. But if you're going to do it, I would take the over, make it simple, because I think both offenses in the second half will open it up a little bit. And I think that's the best play here.
John, it sounds like there's a lot of risk involved in these week 1 games this week. The way you're talking about it, I'm going to protect my bankroll with my very life the way you're talking about these games.
Stay green, man. Just stay green. That's all you got to do.
This is the cupcake part of the season, though. Power teams taking on Group of Fives or Group of Fives taking on FCS teams. So close us out here with a few hidden gems where we can find some green this weekend.
Jeremy, this is kind of my guiding. I'm doing some of this just to be defiant, kind of at a guiding principle. So I'm going to go ahead and take Oklahoma to cover that big number against UTEP. A lot of excitement at Oklahoma right now, kind of reinvigorated, some new schemes, better athletes on the field, more aggressive on the defensive side of the ball. And I'm sorry, but this Rice at USC, and you know what we do with Rice and Service Academy teams early in the season, I got to take it. I mean, I just need a little bit of help out of Rice. This is 32.5, so I get Rice plus 32.5. USC obviously is going to win this game, but if I could just get maybe 10, 14 points, I think that would be great. I think UCLA covers in Western Kentucky. This is another team right now that I think can cover that number at Hawaii. Hawaii is just a bad team. But those are 4 bets that I would take a look at. I think you can make some money on those as well.
CBS Sports HQ wagering expert Jon Berger making some week 1 picks for us in college football. Best of luck this week, John. We'll do the recap next week with you. Let's recap John's picks, though. His plays for this week. 2 risky games. Okay, he has Oregon, Georgia. That's a risky one. Oregon in the points there. In terms of Ohio State, Notre Dame, that is a top 5 matchup. So he's splitting you 3 ways here. Ohio State money line, Notre Dame to cover the 17 and take the over. Utah money line. We didn't talk about that game, but that's who he likes there. Utah money line and the over, and then of course Cincinnati, Arkansas. He likes the over in that game as well. Well, with the college football season here, there is no better way to join the action than CBS Sports College Football Pick'em. Run a custom pool with friends and enter our CBS Sports Challenge for the chance to win guaranteed weekly and season-long prizes, plus $100,000 jackpot on the line. Get started now at cbssports.com/college or from the More menu on the CBS Sports app.
Do you want a sports network that delivers everything that matters about the game? The highlights, the picks, the instant analysis, no yelling, no fake debates, no politics. Hit the subscribe button and never miss a moment.